Welcome to a UCL Fantasy video for the semi-finals. So we're already in Matchday 11, and I have to say, at least for me personally, the season has gone very quickly, but hopefully we can end the season strongly, get those green arrows and get the rank we want. And as for how Matchday 10 went, the second leg of the quarterfinals, for me, it went pretty decent. 53 points, not great on paper, but it was enough to see me get 665 points overall. And I've now gone up in rank yet again to 5,672. And I'm looking to break into the top 5k and try to maintain that position. And it's definitely achievable. And I'll just go roughly, just go across my team, and then after I'll talk about the transfers I have made ahead of Matchday 11, and also just some tips for all of you, as well as some of the best players you can get. But in terms of the captaincy, this is the first week and probably the only week so far this season where my captain blanked. I had two opportunities, and unfortunately they both just didn't work at all. And to be honest, I look at the pool of captains, they just get smaller and smaller each time, and now with certain big teams and players out, it's going to become even harder. But the semi-finals and final, maybe it's possible to just identify the best players overall in the whole competition and then just captain them. But Haaland blanks for the first time, or at least this is the first team that he has failed to score against in Manchester City. Didn't really do anything across both legs. He did get the assist in the first leg, but nothing in the second. And to be honest, I actually nearly captained Foden, and he got 9 points in the end, so that is a mistake of mine. That would have been even better, but ultimately I just lose out on 7 points, but obviously I would have welcomed them. I look across the rest of my team, very average overall. So you look at Coman, 4 points, so not too bad, but even then, he's a big disappointment ever since I got him in, and a lot of the big hauls he got pretty much came from 2 matches. Casemiro 5 points yet again, and I brought him in ahead of Matchday 10, so very happy with him. Gundogan with 3 points, so a blank for him, and to be honest, his role now, he's not as offensive minded as he was probably in the early months of 2021, but still did well in the first leg against Dortmund, and he did well in the the round of 16. But yeah, going forward, Gundogan isn't probably someone you'd want to have, but still, I'll have him and I won't get rid of him. I've got other, players to get rid of. And then you look at Diego Jota, another disappointment, not just in UCL Fantasy, but also in FPL. He's been blanking left, right and centre ever since I got him in, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, he is knocked out of the competition now, and Liverpool were pretty toothless across both legs, and Real Madrid deserved to go through. Then you look at my defence, and yeah, Phillips, a standout with 8 points, and I just looked at him and thought, from Liverpool, yeah, I know there's Trent, I know there's Robertson, and they've been very good across the whole competition, but Phillips gets the ball recovery points. He's a budget defender, and even if I'm in a position where I can't really get rid of everyone I want, I can just keep Phillips on my bench even though he's eliminated because he's so cheap anyway. So he did very well. Kimmich as well, 8 points, and other than maybe 1 or 2 performances where Bayern just didn't get the clean sheet and he didn't get any attacking returns, Kimmich, one of the best defenders this season in the Champions League, at least obviously UCL Fantasy wise. We all know he plays as a defensive midfielder, but yeah, it's going to be a shame obviously not having Kimmich, one of the best midfielders in the world. But yeah, 8 points, a good way to wrap off his season. Stones with 4 points, and to be fair, with the clean sheet being wiped out, that's pretty decent. I won't complain too much. Now, the big problem I had was from the Tuesday match, I believe, with Chelsea. They literally had the clean sheet locked in, and this would have seen me go up in rank even more. I tripled up on Chelsea defence with Mendy, Rudiger and Azpilicueta. They all had the clean sheet locked in, and in the 94th minute, Taremi scores, just like he did against Juventus, I believe, and yeah, the clean sheet got wiped out. So I lost out on essentially 12 points, but it is what it is. These things can happen, but obviously that would have been a very, very huge. I would have been on 65 points and arguably maybe into the top 4k, but hopefully there's going to be more opportunities in the future. Edison also blanked, of course, with Manchester City not keeping a clean sheet. And then you look at Neymar and Mbappe, both of them blanking. And how did Neymar blank in that game? I have to say, he hit the post twice or 3 times. Neuer made several great saves. And I have to say, Neymar's finishing was pretty bad, but his overall performance was, one of the best I've seen in a long time in the Champions League. But overall, happy with that, As I said before, the rank is much better than what it was in the group stages. I've continuously been going up and getting these scores, which could have been even higher, but end of the day, still enough to see me get the green arrows. And going forward into the Matchday 11, the first leg of the semi-finals. I have made 5 transfers. And yeah, this is how my team is set up right now. And remember, I always say this, I know I might sound repetitive, I don't mean to, but for those of you who don't know, anyone on your bench, don't have anyone on your bench who's playing on the Tuesday, on the first day of the Champions League action, unless you have auto subs coming on. But even then, I wouldn't recommend that because you need to rely on players missing out entirely. You want to be in control of the substitutions because you can literally just get rid of, for example, Jorginho, who blanks on the Tuesday, and then you can bring in John Stones, for example, who plays on the Wednesday. So just bear that in mind. There's all in the rules section of UCL Fantasy on the website and the app. So make sure that you know that. In terms of the captaincy, it's the same thing. You can captain someone on the Tuesday. Right now I've got on Benzema, and I'll be talking about captaincy in a bit. And then on the Wednesday, if he fails, you can captain someone like Mbappe or Neymar. So I've made 5 transfers. I'll talk about them first. And starting off, I have brought back in Marquinhos, and he didn't play against I don't even know who PSG played against, I'll be honest, but he didn't play in their last game at the weekend, but he is in training ahead of the Manchester City game. So Marquinhos is back, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't play. He's their best defender, and other than their front line, he's probably their best player overall at PSG. He's a very good player, and I brought him back in. Also, what I like now with my defense is that I have coverage from every team. So obviously I have triple City defense, I've got double or should I say Chelsea defence, I've got double City defence, I've got a Real Madrid defender and PSG. So if there is a clean sheet along the way, I do cover it in some capacity. And speaking of clean sheets and coverage, I've also brought in Raphael Varane. He has come in, and to be honest with Varane, I just looked at Real Madrid, and he's just come back from injury, by the way. In terms of ball recoveries and price and stuff like that, I just looked at him and thought he was the best option. Ferland Mendy, you're mainly relying on an attacking return, and I don't see too many from him in the semi-finals and final. I could be completely wrong, but I ended up going with Varane. I tend to favour the defenders with ball recovery points. They're just more likely to get the points you want, even if the clean sheet fails. So I have brought in Varane as well, and the ones who made way are Kimmich and Phillips in defence for those 2 defenders. Then you look at my midfield, and I've been banging on about Modric for several weeks now, but unfortunately I just looked at it, and it was a question of, do I get someone like Varane or Marquinhos and Jorginho, or do I get Dagba, who's really just going to be on the bench, and also get Modric? And to be honest, I just preferred the first option with Jorginho and Varane or Marquinhos coming in, and it just improves my squad overall, and it also gives me a bit of a safety net going into the final, where, as I kept on saying before, it's very important that you also anticipate who you think is going to go through, and if you make the right decisions there, your team is going to be in a good position. So yeah, ultimately what I'm doing right now, I've got good coverage from every single team. I've got triple PSG, triple Madrid, I've got 5 players from City and 4 players from Chelsea. So I've got a good coverage of every single team, and it only takes a few transfers. I don't need a wild card, which obviously I don't have anyway, to get enough players for the final to have a whole 11 out. So that's kind of the logic behind all of my transfers over the last few weeks and rounds. And my other midfielder transfer was Kevin De Bruyne, and yeah, he's just one blank in the whole Champions League this season. He's got 3 double-digit returns, 1 8-pointer, and just been so good. He's missed 4 games, and to be honest, if he featured in those 4 games, he could be the top scorer in terms of points of any player in UCL Fantasy. So he's been very good. He's got the highest points per match average so far, and yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is just kind of a no-brainer in terms of getting him into my team. Very happy with that. And Karim Benzema, he also comes in, and I'll be honest, I kept on talking about this before. The striker pool is limited. There is Werner, there is Giroud, but he's probably not going to start, and he's got a very good points per match average, but that's because he hasn't played too much, and obviously that hat-trick against Sevilla in the group stages did really solidify that. But then you look at the other striker options, Gabriel Jesus, Aguero, I rather would have the Man City defenders, midfielders and the keeper. So that's why I've gone with this. And also just Benzema, he's the talisman for Real Madrid now, and he's got the assists, he's got the goals, and yeah, I think he's, apart from Mbappe and Neymar, he is the best option. Now, I made these transfers early in the morning or yesterday night, and Mbappe is an injury doubt. He did come off in PSG's game, I think around the 86th minute, 87th, after scoring 2 goals, I believe. But it was a knock. He should be fine, and PSG will risk him. Obviously, if there's a huge risk of him being injured for a long time, they won't risk him. But if there is just a chance of him being able to play, he's going to play. This is their biggest game of the season, and PSG, just like Manchester City, really want to win this Champions League. And whoever wins that, I would suspect will win the whole competition. But you never know. And I think Mbappe will be fine. And I look at the whole team, and what I would recommend to all of you, especially if you're unsure about certain players, what you could do is just wait for the lineups to be announced and then base your transfers off that. I was so convinced of all of these players. Maybe one or two like Jorginho might not start. But the rest should be able to be in the starting lineup, and I'm confident because they're so important to their respective teams. So those are my transfers. So obviously I got rid of the likes of Phillips and Marquinhos, or should I say Kimmich for Marquinhos and Varane. I got rid of Haaland for Benzema. I got rid of Jota for De Bruyne. And let's see, who's the other one? Koeman's the other one who also got rid of, and Jorginho comes in for him. So those are my 5 transfers, and my team is in a good place. And as for the captaincy, I'll talk about this quite briefly. I think it's best to not overcomplicate things. Obviously, some people will be maybe a bit tempted by captaining a Chelsea defender or something like that, or a defender. I still won't do that. I'm going to captain Benzema on the Tuesday. Although, to be honest, I look at that game and I think it's going to be very tight. I could see a 0-0, a 1-0, or a 2-0 either way. It could even be a 2-1, but I don't see too many goals. I could be completely wrong about that. But just the way Chelsea play, Real Madrid have kept 4 clean sheets in a row in all competitions. So I think I'm going to go Benzema captain in the first day, although obviously on paper I would suspect a 1 or 2-0 either way in that match. And if that fails, if the captaincy does fail, I can change it, and I probably will go for Mbappe or Neymar. But there's also De Bruyne or Foden. I think all of them are under consideration the way they've been playing. But the Tuesday I think is a bit clearer for me. I'm not going to captain Casemiro. Varane, not so much. You'd need a clean sheet for that to work. And the Chelsea defence, I don't know. I mean, I do have triple Chelsea defence, of course, but I'm not too convinced about them keeping a clean sheet away to Real Madrid. At home, different story. But then again, it doesn't always work like that. And with no fans, that obviously kind of distinguishes or diminishes the kind of home and away divide. But that's my captaincy thoughts at the moment. It's good to keep it simple. No need to overcomplicate it. But as I said before, on the Wednesday, I am considering Mbappe. He's probably the first on the list. But there's also Neymar, Kevin De Bruyne and Foden. So those are all my captaincy kind of thoughts. Hopefully they actually do deliver, unlike last week for me. And in terms of the best players that you can get, to be honest, I mean, I'm going to be very biased, but a lot of the players that you see on here, I would recommend thoroughly. And if you don't like the likes of Phil Foden already, top scoring midfielder, left in the competition. But other than people that I do have, and obviously you can get some of these players in, unfortunately, some people, what they do is they look at the top point scorers and they bring him in. But Cancelo, for example, a few months ago, I would have said yeah, and I was looking at getting him in myself. But he's fallen out of favour with Pep Guardiola, and not because of anything, wrong disciplinary wise, but just his performances. He's had a few lapses in concentration. Did play in the Carabao Cup final, to be fair, but it is a possibility that Zinchenko plays on the left and Walker plays on the right. Cancelo's just not completely nailed. He's still an option, don't get me wrong, but he's not as good and as nailed as he was maybe 1 or 2 months ago. Modric, as I said before, he still is. He's probably going to guarantee you at least 4 points every match, and if he gets an assist or something like that, he's going to go up to 7, 8 plus. So he's still a very good option. And if I had the chance between Modric or Jorginho, I probably would still pick Modric. But still, I think Jorginho offers a slightly better value for money. And yeah, I wouldn't go for Kyle Walker. I know he's one of the top scoring defenders, but I wouldn't go for him. Ferland Mendy is still an option if you don't like Varane, but I think he is an injury doubt. That's why Nacho played at left back at the weekend in Real Madrid's 0-0 draw against Real Betis, which is very huge for La Liga. Diaz is always an option because he's nailed. And other than Ederson and Mendy, yeah, I mean, Courtois and Navas are still good options, but I probably would still prefer Navas a bit more because of the saves he makes. However, he does face Manchester City, and then after that, it will be Real Madrid or Chelsea. That's if they do go through. Vinicius Jr. could be a good differential, but I'll be honest, I think he's too inconsistent, and there's going to be a lot of blanks along the way. Too much uncertainty around him. On his day, he's very good, but also on his day, he's very bad. He's a very inconsistent player. He is young. He'll improve. Chilwell, I'm not too sure about because other than goals and assists, He's not going to give you too much points. You really need that clean sheet for him to click. So not for me. Werner, other than the three strikers that obviously I have and that I think are the best left in the competition, Werner's probably the next best thing. And he also covers Chelsea. And going forward into the final, if Chelsea do reach the final, then I probably will be bringing Werner in because obviously you'd want to have 8 players from one team and 7 from the other or something like that for your whole squad. But yeah, Werner would be coming in probably if they do reach the final. But right now, I do think Benzema, Neymar and Mbappe are all better options. Toni Kroos, not too sure about. He is an injury concern as marked by UCL Fantasy, but I think Modric is a better option, Casemiro even, and Vinicius Jr. I would prefer those sorts of players. Kroos is probably going to get you 3 points, maybe sometimes 4. You'd mainly be relying on an assist or something from a set piece. And then you look at the other options. I'll be honest, I'm not too convinced. The Chelsea defenders, I think, is just getting Mendy in goal, Azpilicueta and Rudiger. I think they're the best options. With Chilwell and Alonso, not enough ball recovery points, too much rotation risk. Reece James is still an option, but not too sure about that. Di Maria, not this season, I think. Obviously, if PSG do reach the final, then yeah, he's one of the midfielders I would recommend. But right now, he just hasn't shown enough this season to really warrant an inclusion into your side. And Mbappe and Neymar are more than enough cover for PSG's attack. Bernardo Silva is actually an interesting one. He sometimes plays as a false 9. He's been getting a few assists, got 2 against Aston Villa, even got an assist against Dortmund in his last Champions League outing. So he's someone to consider. And I think Manchester City play better with him. A lot of Manchester City fans will tell you that, of course, if you can get one to actually talk to. But yeah, Bernardo Silva is very, very important. And then other than that, yeah, to be honest, we're pretty much reaching after that at this point. You know, the likes of Sterling, just I don't even think he's going to start, and he's been very poor whenever he does play his end product. I do like Mahrez, however. He's been looking so sharp recently. He's got 3 returns in 3 successive Champions League games, and in the Carabao Cup final, man of the match. What a performance. And in the Premier League, he's been one of the best players in the entire league in the last month or so. So he's someone else that I would recommend. Mason Mount is always an option for Chelsea, and maybe even Kai Havertz if he does play that false 9 role. But other than that, as I said before, you're probably reaching too much. From PSG defence, it's probably Navas and Marquinhos. They would be my top 2 picks. The rest, yeah, maybe there's Kimpembe, but I think you'd be reaching there. So those are all of the players that I recommend, and also my captaincy thoughts, how my team did in Matchday 10, and my transfers going into Matchday 11, and all of that. Hopefully that helped you out, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. And if you did, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We're trying to reach 3,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate any sort of support. And comment down below what your team is looking like, and if you have any kind of debates in your head about which players to get in or who you should captain, then let me know down in the comment section below. And not only I, but other people can also get involved in the discussion and help you out in some sort of way. So really appreciate everyone who has tuned in. Good luck with UCL Fantasy this week. Good luck with FPL later on in the week. I'll be making videos for that, and I'll see you next time.